Our reporter Malungelo Booi was at the Randburg Magistrate Court where the verdict was handed down on the culpable homicide case against former president's son, Duduzane Zuma. Zuma was acquitted of all charges. Now, you were right there, and I noticed as well, it was a very emotional moment when the verdict was eventually handed down. What justification was given by the magistrate?
So essentially what the magistrate said here is that it was the state's duty to prove that Duduzane Zuma was indeed negligent and that night of this accident, and of course saying that, well, the state did not do that, saying that some of the state witnesses that were called, remember, Thami, the state had called at least 6 state witnesses, including 2 passengers who were in that vehicle and also the driver of that minibus taxi. Magistrate saying that, well, their case, the evidence that was presented by the state witnesses really did not help the state's case. In fact, the magistrate was actually very hard, saying that some of these state witnesses were actually quite bad, saying that they were not good role models of good witnesses, and that some of them are also very difficult during cross-examination. That's something that we also saw. I mean, there was one particular case where Matron Matigane, it's a 73-year-old woman who was inside that taxi at the time of the incident, when she was being cross-examined by the defense. At times, really, she just did not want to engage, forcing the court to intervene. Well, the magistrate saying that what has been interesting here is that Duduzane Zuma has been consistent in his evidence from when there was an inquest on this particular matter until now, that actually he lost control of his vehicle after it hit a pool of water that was on the road, which he said he had not seen at the time of the accident.
So no negligence was found. It was found that it could have been any other person driving any other car, and given the circumstances and the situation at that time, any other reasonable person would have perhaps acted in exactly the same way.
That's right, Thami. In fact, to go as far as to say, we know that Duduzane Zuma told the court that he reduced his speed to about 90 kilometers per hour when he reached that particular stretch of road. That's something that the taxi driver also had done. It also reduced his speed to about 90 kilometers per hour. So both these men had done the same thing, considering that the roads at the time was actually quite wet. And the magistrate said that, well, both these two people were actually studied the conditions of the road, and they acted the same way, and therefore really there's nothing this man could have done. And also, I think what's more important here, Tam, is that it's important to note that Duduzane Zuma had said that he didn't know that his vehicle could actually go on aquaplane mode, and in fact he was driving at around 90 kilometers per hour. We've heard from some of the experts that took to the stand in this case, saying that your car could actually go on aquaplane mode even if you're driving at a low speed.
Now tell us about some of the reactions after that verdict was handed down.
I think the first, I mean, we tried to speak to Duduzane Zuma and the former president, Jacob Zuma, who was there to support Duduzane. We also saw some of Duduzane Zuma's siblings. Duduzane Zuma didn't want to talk to us, including the president didn't want to respond to us, but he was smiling, essentially. You could tell that they are relieved that this particular matter has finally ended. But we've also spoken to the NPA. We've asked them how they feel about this, because initially the NPA had declined to prosecute this case, and AfriForum had in fact forced them to prosecute this case. Let's take a listen at what the NPA's Pindim Jonondwana had to say to us when we asked for their reaction.
Those who are found to be on the wrong side of the law are convicted and thereby punished for their wrongdoing. So if a person is brought before court, as the prosecution believed that Mr. Zuma had a case to answer and he answers successfully to that case, then we can never be disappointed in such, because remember that ours was to uncover the truth. And now that the truth is out there, we were not out there to persecute Mr. Zuma, but rather to prosecute and ensure that justice is delivered. Now, if the court found that his evidence was consistent, was truthful, and accepts that Mr. Zuma did not drive negligently, nor did he foresee that the conditions on that day would lead or result to a death of a person, then that's about it. That's what we seek to achieve as the NPA, to say, is this person on the wrong side of the law? If they are, then the necessary thing must follow. And are they on the right side of the law? Then the necessary thing must follow, which is an acquittal.
Well, thank you very much, Malungelo, for that. And I did see you did try and get a reaction from the main man himself, Duduzane Zuma, but no comments.
No comment from him.